live with ASI to share with us your take and summary of the Security in Context project, which you lead. Omar, you are I'm telling you what you are. You are an associate professor at Hampshire College, and you are the co-editor of the Syria page on Jadaliyya and many more things. We would love to hear from you a bit about this new and relatively new and exciting project within the time span of 2 minutes or so.
Thanks, Bassam. Thanks so much for having me. So very briefly, Security in Context you're right, it's a relatively new initiative. It's been in the planning for about a year, but we're getting ready to launch in a major way in the coming weeks. Actually, we're having our public launch October 16th. But very briefly, it's an initiative that builds on the work of many scholars and activists who are dissatisfied with dominant understandings and practices of security. And many of those practices that really shape our lives, shape societies in the US and in the global South. So the initiative at one level is interested in examining the way these understandings and practices and technologies have continuously shaped our lives through investments in control, criminalization, militarism, warfare, and many other processes. So at a second level, there's also an acknowledgement that these practices and discourses are built on certain understandings of the way the world works. They don't come out of nowhere. They come from and are built upon certain views of the world, certain stories that, for example, the US government tells about the way the world works. So when you hear any discussion of why the US Department of Defense has a $700 billion budget, a discussion that rarely, if ever, happens, although it should happen more often, but in the small instances that you do have those discussions, there's a sort of justification that's built on stories about threats, stories about why there's a need to have this significant militarism. And those stories are not neutral. Those stories, there's significant investments in them by the US government, but of course, other governments throughout the world in their own instances. So at a second level, this initiative is also interested in critically examining these stories and that are told in the name of security, and basically providing alternative understandings of global dynamics, such as global power and wealth inequalities, climate change, militarism, and so on. And there's a particular emphasis in the project on perspectives from and about the global South that we often find is missing from a lot of these stories and narratives that we hear in the US and elsewhere. Of course, there's not one alternative story to be told. There are many stories and many actors and many scales from the micro to the micro level at which these processes of securitization, criminalization, control, and so on are practiced. And there are also multiple actors, from governments to non-state actors. And that's where the notion of context in the Security in Context matters. We're trying to engage with many individuals, centers, organizations in the US and around the world who seek to improve our understanding of this wide range of global dynamics, whose common denominator is security. So the project is, has security in the name, but it's also really much more of an interdisciplinary, critical global studies project that tries to initiate these dialogues, these understandings, these representations. In the first phase, most of the individuals and the centers we're involved with or that are engaged in the project are based in the US and the Middle East, or Mediterranean region, we should say. But in the coming phases, we hope to engage with other regions as well, without seeking to necessarily have representation from any one region, but trying to tell stories from different perspectives and from different viewpoints about how do we understand these processes that are unfolding everywhere in many similar ways, but all with its unique dynamic.
Thank you, Omar. Can you tell us a little bit about the upcoming events or any upcoming events, including what I know about the official launch of the project, and if people can tune in and when it might happen and so on?
Sure. So our first or closest event is Friday, October 16th at 1 p.m. US Eastern Time. And we'll be uh, showing a lot more and telling a lot more about the launch event and many other events. You can find it on the website, www.securityincontext.com. Our first event is one that really will showcase some of the original research which is going to be featured in the project. So the initiative has several components. First and most important are research teams led by core members of the project that are going to produce and showcase and disseminate original research about specific themes. Some of these themes will be looking at the intersection of militarism and financialization. Another theme is looking at the political economy of multipolarity. There is a theme on technologies of surveillance and infrastructures of data capture, and many other themes that we'll be discussing in the launch. I hope people tune in to find out about it. We're also going to be talking about other project components, such as the close partnerships with centers that we really refer to as Global South hubs, research centers in the Global South who are engaged with their own projects that are not necessarily traditional security studies, but really alternative approaches to understanding, more importantly, how insecurity is produced and reproduced throughout the world, often in the name of investments in security. And third, we'll be talking a little bit about our pedagogical initiatives. So in the coming phase, we're going to be focusing on both producing teaching materials as well as developing training sessions and mentorship opportunities for young scholars who wish to work or are already working in this field.
Thank you. And I know that there is a news or media roundup that you produce on a regular basis. Can you tell us a little bit about this, and I can screen share it?
Sure. So we have two resources that we produce on a monthly basis now. They're already started, so if people visit our site, they can see some of them. Our first is a news roundup that gathers the main news and analytical articles on the themes of security, insecurity, some of the themes that I mentioned already, that tries to do a global media roundup each month. We find this and we hope that this resource will be valuable for someone conducting research on these topics. So we have themes on international relations, we have themes on economic warfare, for example, the use of economic sanctions and other forms of what we call economic warfare, and you can find the latest news there. So that's the first resource we have on the website. The second resource is a monthly digest, which includes peer-reviewed articles and books that are produced on these topics within the past month or within the past period. It's produced on a monthly basis, but of course there's some resources that are, we're learning about. So we have books, peer-reviewed articles. We have all the conferences that are, call for papers, conferences on these themes. We also have in the digest job opportunities and other postdoc opportunities in these fields as well. So we hope that with the combination of the media roundup and the digest, there's a lot there for people to see and benefit from. Particularly if you're someone who wants to keep abreast of all this news, but don't have the time or don't have the ability to gather the vast amount that's being produced on, even not just a monthly basis, but weekly basis.
Thank you. I'm looking now. We are sharing the screen for the monthly digest with the books that have been listed that are important resources, articles, peer-reviewed articles, and other material. This is really important. And you also have conferences and calls for papers and various lectures and webinars that you are featuring. So this is a great resource. And are we looking forward to seeing this on a monthly basis this fall as well?
Yes, these two will be monthly, the digest. Sometimes we publish the digest and we update it bi-weekly because there's always new calls being put out, and sometimes the deadlines actually are earlier than our publication date. So this is like the digest is a live document, but it's renewed every month. We also are planning and will be unrolling a series of other resources. We have our podcast, some of which we started already and some of which will be rolling out very soon. We had a roundtable or a series of short articles on critical examinations of borders and the state in light of COVID. As everyone saw, the shutting down of borders that happened in March really was a shock to the global system, along with many other dynamics that unfolded. So we thought of initiating a series that looks at how can we understand borders and the state and their actions in light of COVID-19. And we just published a wonderful paper, and there's going to be a series of papers published on that theme. So the website, we hope, will be a platform, in addition to the original research that's being discussed or that are being produced in the project and by the project, what we sort of call our in-house research. We hope that the website itself will be a platform for discussion and debate about these topics. We encourage submissions from anyone who's interested in submitting a short article, someone who's interested in curating a roundtable around a topic of their interest, to contact us, and we're happy to respond and take up themes that are interest to the project.
Thank you very much, Omar. This was actually a very succinct and productive summary of what the project is about. I am, of course, aware of the project because of our connection through ASI and because of the good things that have been put out by the project. So I really appreciate your time, and we really all appreciate your initiative, because it takes a topic that has been addressed for many, many years, if not decades, in a manner that leaves a lot to be desired, which is security, and actually puts it in context so that it is much more than the classic approach that is one-dimensional or even barely two-dimensional. So thank you very much for this initiative. Thanks to all the team members that you work with, and the products and knowledge production you are embarking on. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with in these interesting times before we break?
No, thanks so much for this interview. And I really hope people will check out the work and will be involved. If they're interested, they can contact us. ASI has been a really supportive partner in many ways so far. And we look forward to continue that collaboration, and really excited about the work that's coming up in the, very soon.
Shukran. Thank you, Omar. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will be in touch soon.
Thank you.
We hope to have you back.
Inshallah.
Okay, salam. Bye.
As Biden says, inshallah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, after last night. Assalamu alaikum.